Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show, Trek Wednesday, Stardate 2016.174 at 22:10 Eastern Standard Time. I am joined tonight by the greatest panel ever assembled in STO history. Yes, Bordicus, we're even challenging you. To my left here, our Chief Intelligence Officer who's always grumpy, seldom happy, SarcasmDetector.
Could you please read my title properly?
Oof.
It's written in the show notes. Read it properly.
It's written in salt.
Head of the Grumpy Intelligence Agency, Admiral SarcasmDetector. I'm sorry, I forgot your promotion. Chief
Admiral for life.
You know that? Yes. The Chief of Super Cheesy Crybaby Tactics, Captain SOB.
I'm crying tonight. Don't worry.
The nerf, the feedback pulse has you that bad? Although it's not
Actually,
really nerf, but...
it's
the
not
boxes.
It's the boxes, really?
It's the boxes.
No more keys for you. Don't worry, though, because we'll send you over to sickbay, where our Chief Ironic Medic, Captain MK, will check you out and give you a whole bunch of shots that'll make you feel better.
I have a puppy to housebreak and I need a stimulant stat. I've got like maybe 8-9 hours of sleep total in the last couple of days because every time I lay down, I see her sniffing around and I take her outside and nothing. Repeat.
Oh, it's almost as bad as a baby kid. Almost as bad.
Well, you would have more stimulants if you hadn't hidden them all from me and then forgotten where you put them.
Remember those 2 weeks where you were really, really cheery? I was putting them in your food.
I thought it was because of Zeph Films giving us all this nice ship porn to look at here. I mean, this man here is just good at putting out stuff. Tell me you have some more crack for us, please.
I am currently working on part 3 of 3. So, yeah, there's more ship porn coming.
Holy crap, who's the talking meatball?
Yeah, it's him. It's him. It's him. Don't worry about it.
Talking meatball? What?
All right, you know what? Never mind. We'll get back to that. He's had a little bit too much stimulants right now. Top of the hour here, and I believe SarcasmDetector, you might have some intel on this one here. We have a Reddit user, notkermit, from the 38th Fleet Argo. Really?
Yeah.
He created an entire role-playing fleet map and directory?
Actually, that was something I put up. So, yeah, not Kermit. He's one of the admins at the 38th Fleet Argo, one of the bigger role-playing fleets within Star Trek Online. And he has gone ahead and modified the galaxy map and put in where all the role-playing fleet star bases are located within that system map. So just to add to immersion for those role players. On top of that, he also created a directory in this Reddit thread, which lists the location of these fleets, and then also gives a link to take them to, or take a user to that respected fleet's website so they can check it out and see if they want to apply. So if you're a role player and you're looking for a roleplay fleet to join, we'll have the link for this thread made by Not Kermit, or Kermit the Frog, from 38th Argo. And you can check it out. And if you're part of an RP fleet and you don't see your fleet up there, there's actually instructions where you can PM Kermit and have your fleet added there. So maybe you can get some traffic sent your way. Maybe some interested people who have alts, especially with the new expansion coming up. Lots of alts. Am I right?
And I'm sure we'll be sending a bunch of the boys and girls over from Star Trek Battles to check that out as well, because I'm sure those two will like to collab a little bit in some of the missions they do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's even some KDF fleets on here, and I know in the role-playing community, finding a role-playing KDF fleet is actually hard to come by. Actually, I see one that's missing, so I'm gonna have to PM him about that. But yeah, no, good resource for the role players, and check the notes for that link when you get a chance.
Thank you, sir. And I put a call out to everybody here on the panel to come up with at least an idea or a build concept for the new event ship, well, that most of us are working for. So if you haven't figured it out by now, that, hey, get on Ryza, do that stupid little jetpack, run through a maze or, rat race, and then go collect your marks for the summer event to turn in for the nice ship, get to cracking because your time's running out. I'm not sure, SOB, how many days left do they have in order to be able to collect this thing?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think we're right around the point where you have to start or you're not going to have a chance at the ship.
I think it's next Monday you have to start if you want a chance. Correct. I'm sure the YouTube guys will correct me if I'm wrong.
True. Well, we'll get to that. But I did put out a challenge to the panel here on coming up with different builds. And so we'll have it posted within the show notes here, unless they want to discuss them live on air, very quickly in what they're doing. But I cheated, and I went to a professional, MBagel, who has never disappointed me whatsoever. I pulled the man out of retirement, said, look, dust off all of your ship ideas and concepts, put something together really cheap but effective for this new event ship, and see what you can do with it. And yes, the man does not disappoint at all. Posted a link for the build. He gives the exact breakdown of where you can get this stuff, how much EC you're going to spend. And let's put it this way. It's sub 1 million. Otherwise, everything else you get at Mark 12, you get from all the featured episodes or mission rewards or something you pick up along the way. And that's it. You're done. You're in business. And you cannot get any cheaper than that, folks. Any starting player can go in, get this stuff, and hit the ground running close to, if not at 50k deeps. So you can't complain saying Mark 12 gear isn't competitive in something like ISA or CSA or KSA or any of the other advanced queues and even some of the elite queues. You'll be fine.
Definitely true, but it's also incredibly important to point out Bagel is probably one of the best pilots in the game.
That is true. That is very true.
And so,
piloting does factor hugely into this. But
piloting
you do have the potential. But a lot of it, though, is you got to get the right gear on the ship, and then you got to know how to pilot the thing. So
that's true.
If you're a different flavor, then you can go ahead and build it slightly differently as your resources allows to, and then start practicing, and then ask people questions, and then do your research, and then you'll be able to come out on top. And then you can start upgrading the gear and get even more, if you so choose to.
Gear is like the fundamentals, I think.
I'm going to have to kind of disagree with you.
Go for it.
Because I think what's more important is you establish yourself with a good team and you know how to pilot. I think those two are the most important things because we proved that me with Mark IV coalition weapons with mismatched tactical consoles on a Sovereign, a T5, not even T5U, can do 32k. So
you know what we should do, and they used to do this back in the day in the auto shop class, is set some sort of baseline. In other words, Odin, you should come up with some sort of build. And it wouldn't be an optimal build. It might be a gimmick build, but it would be some specific type of build. Easily acquired gear, no unobtainium. Give it to 10 different pilots and have them challenge each other to a DPS record event, let's say.
That's actually kind of cool.
That is a nice idea. I say we run with that.
But yeah,
I'm not saying that. But I'd love to see what Bagel would do as a baseline, and then everyone else compared to Bagel.
How about this? We'll all come up with a different build. All of us here, different build. We'll post it in the show notes, either this week or next week. So folks, stay tuned to this, and then we'll see who picks what build. And then the person who does the best with it, first, second, and third for each of our builds, will get a prize from us. You know,
We could do that.
Yeah, we could do that. We'll
I mean,
supply
we
prizes.
don't. I don't know if we want to multiply it by 5 builds times 3 places, etc. etc. We might want to settle on like one show build, but it's not a bad idea. Like a show battle royale, if you will.
I think we have enough for first, second, and third.
Oh no, first, second, and third. Yeah, I mean, we could,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
times however many
Times
participants is
5.
what
There's 15 prizes right there. Yeah, that won't be a problem.
we could do it.
Yeah,
It's a
we'll do it.
lot of work. Just
Man's
Well,
rich.
no. We each come up with one build that would be the style, and then we set the criteria and what metrics you want, like survivability and support. We'll go down with you. Ultra cheese will go to Spencer. Sneak and creep will go to sarcasm. Show style and showmanship and mismatch, but still throw down big numbers over there will go to Zeph Films. And of course, I'll stick with the uniqueness of kinetics. Let's see what you can throw around with kinetics.
Yeah, but just to my original point, I don't think weapons are like, obviously the better the weapon, the better your deeps, but I don't think it is the end all be all of a successful run in an ISA or something like that.
If you had the ballpark, in your opinion,
Mhm.
how much piloting matters versus how much gear matters
I think
in a
I think the piloting, i.e., knowing where your flank points are, knowing when you need, and yeah, so when I say piloting meaning knowing where your flank points are, and we're talking about ISA. Let's just focus on that one because that's what everybody knows. So knowing your flank points, knowing when to hit evasive maneuvers or your engine batteries or your whatever that other speed boost thing is.
deuterium.
I think all that stuff, piloting, is more important than the gear. Me personally.
Like if you had a pie graph, would it be like 2/3 piloting and 1/3 gear, or?
I'll jump in on here, and I'll just say that there are some geared.
You're cutting out there, Cam.
You keep muting yourself.
Check. Audio. Check audio. Is that better?
You're good.
You're good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to agree with Alan a little bit and say gear isn't really that important. It's actually probably the least important. There are some exceptions, and that's usually team-based gear, such as the Iconian set and the Coalition. And again, I will agree with Alan here and say that the team that you're on plays a major factor. So the most important things are your personal piloting skills and the team that you're flying with and their skills, and if they have any team-based gear. And the gear itself, especially when you're talking about energy weapons, really does not matter.
Yeah.
Hope all that came through.
Yeah, you can have it's like buying a Ferrari, one of the fastest production cars in the world. You could be rich as all hell and go out to the dealership, buy a Ferrari, hop in it, and start racing down the road course, whatever. But if you don't have the experience to handle, like knowing the ins and outs of that car and how to approach the apex with that much horsepower and what speeds and what to do if there's a little slick and all that stuff, it ain't gonna be shit all. Like, you're gonna end up off the road, car wrapped around a tree. Like, you're gonna mess that car up if you don't know what you're doing. So I think the same thing kind of, yeah, and I think the same thing applies here. Like, you can just whip out your credit card, buy the best ship, just buy mass amount of keys, get all the EC, upgrade all your shit, and you will still pull out subpar numbers if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
I can agree with that. I still, alright, for most builds, both of you are correct. There are some builds, obviously, that you need to know what to pick specifically, when to use it, how to use it. But that's more on the niche build type of area. But even then, that knowing when to use it is part of piloting. So piloting still then trumps the gear.
Yeah. Yeah, like Cam was saying, the Iconian set, team-based thing, and then it comes down to the other point that I had made, that team coordination is also a strong factor on getting the numbers that you want out of a build. Like, we've all done ISA runs on TeamSpeak, and we all coordinate when we're going to hit the Iconian pulse and intel fleet and all that stuff. He's like, that part there is really important too. To confirm Kim's point. So, yeah, I think piloting and coordination / teamwork is more important than the quality of your gear. And we saw it with the Mark IV coalitions with not even the correct tactical consoles on a T5 Savi, 32K. That was that was actually surprising. But it's just proof in the pudding that you don't need the best to do good.
That's a little bit of an understatement. And I did some testing earlier last week, and I was going to actually make a video of it, but I haven't had a chance to yet. I've been actually working on another project doing ARC videos, but I'll just come out and say it here. For energy weapons like beams and cannons, really the flavor, the type of weapon that you use is really irrelevant. They are all the same. They all do the same amount of damage. The percentile difference between them is so small as to be inconsequential.
Oh, that's right, because you rip something to shreds with Tetrion build, right?
Yes. Right. So I did comparisons between Tetrion and anti-proton, and so all right, look at it this way. I did a run using DPS Mark using Tetrions, and I was using beam tactical consoles, not even Tetrion consoles, beam Tetrion consoles, and I got about 71k out of it. And I went and did a run with anti-protons using anti-proton tactical consoles, and I even added some extra Cat 2 damage, anti-proton Cat 2 damage on top of that, and got 74k out of that. So there really is no difference there. Now there was some difference in the weapons. The Tetrions were fleet weapons. They were Mark 14 ultra rare, damage 3 crit D, and the anti-protons were Mark 14 epics, damage 3 pen. So really the difference there, 3k difference between the Tetrion and the anti-proton is tiny, especially when like the anti-protons had extra damage bonus. So they had the anti-proton tactical consoles versus the just plain old beams. They had extra Cat 2 damage. They had the pen modifier on top of that. Plus they were all epic, so they had the 2 extra damage mods on top of that, and could barely get a little bit more damage than the Tetrions. And remember, the Tetrion proc, the shield proc, does not register in the combat log, so none of the parsers will read it. So in reality, you can pick any type of weapon type, any flavor of weapon type, and it will not make a difference. The only thing that actually does make a little bit of difference is the coalition disruptors, because they're team-based and they stack.
Now, when you're saying a difference, it means like, say, for example, if you're doing up to about 125, 150k, the difference is so minuscule that it doesn't, register as much, if anything at all. And then beyond that, then you start to see a difference as far as the performance. The delta is like, I remember some of the mathematicians doing it, the delta is something like anywhere between 3 to 5% between all of the flavors.
It's less than that. The delta between all the flavors, if you're using equal weapons, so exactly the same mods, the same amount of cat bonuses, so Cat 1, Cat 2, whatever, the delta is like way less than 3%. It's probably closer to like 1% or even 0.5% in that regards. Very, very minuscule. And this, you know what? This is something we've known for a long time. Back in the day when like the highest DPS you could get was like 30k, the difference between something like anti-proton and the next best thing, which was ROM plasma, was like about 30 DPS. 30 on an ISA run.
Fascinating.
There was really no difference at all between the weapon types. So, like you were saying, like 150k DPS, you might see 1 or 2, maybe 3k difference out of them if you're running weapons with the same amount of buffs and the same modifiers.
Now, speaking of this, we have weapons, we have the mods, but what about the ships? Especially with what we see over the horizon, the 26th century ship stats have been released. Now, I haven't looked at them yet, but I'm sure some of you have. What are your impressions on them so far?
Actually, we talked about the sub tier 6 ones last week, and a lot of the comments a lot of the stuff I was commenting about last week just got answered this week. So we know that there's going to be the standard versions, which are non-fleet. These are the ones that are available in the pack, which I can't seem to find in the store anymore. They must have removed it. And there's going to be a fleet version as well. So I assume, you get a fleet module and you can get yourself the fleet variant as well. But one of the first things I want to talk about is the mechanic that these temporal ships have. So every type of ship, like the Intel, the Command, the pilot ships, have a quirky mechanic, built into them. I think the Intel ships had the exploit mechanic, the Command had the inspiration mechanic, the pilots had the what was it called? The pilot maneuvers. These have something called the molecular reconstruction mechanic, and this one actually sounds pretty interesting. I don't know. Have you actually taken a look at them yet, Spencer?
I've taken a look. I mean, they're nice. I'm not too impressed with them, but they'll be something to give a shot.
Yeah, of course we'll have to test it out. So there's a defensive configuration, offensive, and then a support configuration 3. And I'm guessing they're going to work similar to how the inspiration mechanic works or like the cruiser command auras work. So you pick one of these configurations and it gives you a buff to certain things. So the defensive gives you maximum shield power and incoming healing. The offensive gives you engine power, speed, and turn, while the support gives you auxiliary power, control expertise, exotic damage, and there's some downsides to that. We're not going to go too much into detail. I recommend you guys take a look at the article itself that got published. But one of the things that happens here is they have a tick that happens. So while you have this configuration open, you are getting counters, and you get how many of these did they say? 6? So like you get a defensive counter, you get a counter every 10 seconds, and it's going to be, if you're in defensive configuration, you're going to get a defensive counter every 10 seconds, up to 6. And obviously the same for offensive and support. And once you have the full stack of 6, you won't get any more counters. I guess the cooldown on them refreshes possibly. I don't remember seeing if it did or not, but you can fire off a molecular deconstruction beam, and depending on which type of configuration counter you have, you get certain bonuses to the beam, whether it's extra physical damage or healing yourself, or something quirky like the chance to disable your target, something like that. So that's fairly interesting. So I would actually be interested in testing some of them out. I mean, the support configuration sounds interesting to me because I like to fly sciencey ships, science ships, and science cruisers of that type. So, and some of the ships actually, maybe the Gemini might be sciencey enough to run that. But we'll see. We're going to have to talk about the ships specifically themselves. Just going to scroll down a little bit here so I can see them. The first one, by the way, we're gonna be talking about what the ships look like in a second. Alan made a fantastic video, part 2 of his series. I had a look at it earlier today. Absolutely fantastic, jaw-dropping. Good work, Alan, in that regards.
Ship porn.
Yes, ship porn. But feel free to jump in, any of you guys, if you want to interject here. But the first ship is the Nautilus. This is the science ship. The non-fleet version has a 1.32 shield modifier, while the fleet version has a 1.45 something shield modifier. So it's going to have one of the highest shield modifiers in the game. I think I called that last week. Bridge officer seating, interesting. Ensign tactical, kind of on that. Lieutenant commander tactical, that's a nice. Lieutenant engineer / temporal agent, so that's the new profession. One commander science / temporal agent, and a lieutenant commander universal. I think all of them have lieutenant commander universal except for one. Yeah, something like that. The console, 4 tactical, 2 engineering, 4 science. The fleet version gets +1 science console. So right there, that's pretty much the same console layout as the Anoraks. Not a lot of engineering, but a lot of tactical, which is really kind of meh. But 5 science for the fleet version, oh boy, that's going to be a lot of fun. Nimble little ship, 14 turn rate, 0.2 flight modifier, inertial dampeners is 55. Of course, it's got the sensor analysis and subsystem targeting, which I wish they would give us the subsystem targeting like level 3 or something like that for the tier 6 ships, the tier 5, tier 6 ships. All in all, the ship looks beautiful, and I figure it's going to be one of the better science ships in the game, especially with the molecular destabilization doohickey thingy, whatever that is.
We'll just have to see if that can make up for the lack of a 4-3 layout, like the Anoraks or Paradox have.
Indeed. It's going to be, I guess it's a little bit more like the Krenim science ship. I think it has the same or similar weapon layout and console layout. I don't quite remember. I don't have the ship in front of me at the moment.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Now, here's the one I'm really falling in love with, the escort one. The Theseus class. So 0.9 shield modifier, it's 1 point something for the fleet version, 4-3 weapon layout, and some tactical. A commander tactical / temporal agent, lieutenant engineering / temporal agent, lieutenant commander science, and a lieutenant commander universal. 5 tactical consoles, 2 engineering, 3 science, and I think it gets a 4th science console at the fleet version.
Yeah, it's going to be a nasty one as far as escorts are going to be. Escorts are concerned, but that whole ensign tactical thing again. I mean, how many times do we have to go over this? Yeah, better served as a universal.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal having 2 universal stations on a ship. I mean, we've seen that before on other ships. I mean, we've all done that before. So I don't see why we're still getting this ensign tactical. Or any ensign at all. I mean, seriously, we should just throw both ensigns. I don't get
You
it.
think this one will play out like how the Nandy played out as well? Because it's going to be a similar console setup at least.
I think it'll be a little bit closer to the Krenum warship, just -1 weapon.
I'd say the Imperium's got a massive advantage on it over it with the intel seating.
True, that OSS is phenomenal. We'll have to see what kind of bonuses we actually get from that gimmick, the ship gimmick. If it actually does anything useful. Science, if you use the science configuration, I don't know if it's a good. It might catch it up a little bit to the Krenum. I don't know. We'll have to see in that regards. It's still too early to judge. The next one over is the Gemini, the cruiser. And remember last week I talked about how it only had 3 command auras, and I was hoping it was just a typo. Turns out, no, it wasn't. The Tier 6 version of the cruiser also only has 3 command auras, so shield frequency, weapon system efficiency, and attract fire. I don't know what's going on in that regard. I mean, one of the key selling points for cruisers, in my opinion, is the fact that they have all 4 cruiser commands. I don't know. In any event, this one, the normal version has a 1.05 shield modifier, and the fleet version. You know what? This has got to be a typo because the fleet version says it also has a 1.05.
Copy paste fail.
Copy paste fail. Yeah, indeed. So 4-4 weapon layout, standard cruiser thing. It has a lieutenant commander tactical, an ensign engineer, 1 commander engineer / temporal agent, 1 lieutenant commander science, and then a lieutenant universal / temporal. So I guess this is the one ship that doesn't get the lieutenant commander universal.
No, it's the battle cruiser doesn't get it either.
Oh well. That's an issue there. 3 tactical, 4 engineering, 3 science, and the fleet version gets an extra engineering for a total of 5. So it's a 5-3-3 layout, which I'm not too big of a fan of. Not my favorite console layout. Decent ship, but decently maneuverable, 8 turn rate, 0.15 impulse modifier. I don't know. I'm not too sold on the Gemini. I mean, it looks great. It looks absolutely beautiful.
By Gemini, you mean Sagittarius, right?
That's what I was thinking too.
Right. So, I'm sorry. It's the Sagittarius. It's the Gemini is the tier 4, tier 5, something, tier 4.
Tier 4, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Whatever. I'm not completely sold on the stats of the ship. I would have probably preferred like having 4 science consoles. That would have really sold the ship on me. If they had gone with 4 engineering, 4 science, 3 tactical for the fleet version, that would have been fine. That would have been fairly decent. But 5-3-3 and that bridge officer layout, I don't know. I personally am not really comfortable with it. I think it works for the Quas because the Quas actually has pets. And those make up for some of the shortcomings, but on a ship without pets, you know what? They should have put pets on this thing.
I'm looking at this after flying a Science Odyssey for a few weeks here now, and I'm seeing no reason why I'd use this cruiser over my science Audi, to be honest. I'm losing a science console, and I'm losing sensor analysis. I just don't like that.
And you're losing you're losing a little bit more than that. You're losing a little bit more versatility in the Bridger's officer layout. Or if I remember correctly, the Science Odyssey has 2 universals.
Yeah, I believe so.
And yeah, Science Odyssey, man, that's one of the top ships in the game. They used to laugh at it, but it's such a good ship, and really the only reason you would pick this ship is it looks nice. And I guess that works for some people.
I love that Sagittarius so much.
It looks nice, but really I would love to have gotten something similar or maybe the same stats as a Science Odyssey with the looks of the Sagittarius/Gemini. That would have been nice. But enough of that. Let's move on. Let's jump ahead to the Paladin class. And this one, I'm sorry, I have to stop and gush a little bit about the looks on this. This thing is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
It
it
is
looks
gorgeous.
really nice.
It's I guess it's very much the Enterprise J look. Well, we don't really know what the Enterprise J looks like. We've only had like a kind of a silhouette, kind of weird angle look from like one frame from one obscure episode from somewhere.
I'm just looking. Sorry to interject here. I'm just looking at the the external silhouette, and I'm kind of looking at it and like, I get the curved lines bit, but the engines, does it really have to be that large? I mean, I'm sure engine technology and propulsion technology as a whole has gotten to the point that you could move a very massive ship with, smaller warp engines per se.
Well, we don't
You don't
know
need
if
that
it's
many
massive or
coils in
not.
order to be able to generate a warp field to be able to propel the vehicle through subspace. Just saying.
Well, we don't really know how big it is. The only person who really knows outside of the development team how big it is and what it compares to can't actually tell us anything about that.
No, 'cause the stats are released. I can tell
Okay.
you that it's nothing in comparison to the Enterprise J that's stated to be 1.5 kilometers long. I only did it with the Sagittarius class. It's about the length of a sovereign class, maybe a little bit longer. That's about it.
Sovereign's actually kind of a small ship now compared to other ships in the game. But like if you look at this, is it the size of an Avenger, for example, which is a tiny cute ship, by the way. The Avenger's really small.
Which one?
Or
The Paladin?
Paladin, yeah. Is it like a small battle cruiser the size of an Avenger, for example?
No, about the same size as the Savia as well. If I remember. I didn't do that video. Well, I did that one last week, so I can't quite remember. All I remember is the Sagittarius side by side with the Sovereign was, it was about the same size as a Sovereign. Width-wise, it's wider than a Sovereign. Not by like a whole lot, but a little bit.
You're talking about the Sagittarius there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember the Paladin or the other one.
Well, enough about the looks. I mean, we've gushed about it quite a bit. It looks absolutely fantastic. Stats-wise, shield modifier 1.05 for the normal version, 1.155 for the fleet version, and I guess that's the same for the Gemini. That was what the typo was. Called it 4.4 weapons for a battle cruiser. I don't know, man. I've said it before. 5.3 battlecruiser, just do it. Bridge officer stations. Let's see here. Lieutenant Tactical / Temporal Agent. A Lieutenant Commander Tactical. So wow, you're already locked into two tactical bridge officers straight off the bat. That's interesting. One Commander Engineering / Temporal Agent, a Lieutenant Science, and then a Lieutenant Universal. So you only have that Lieutenant Universal to play around with, whether you want it as a Science or an extra engineer or as a third tactical. No Ensign. So that's pretty decent. That's actually fairly nice. Console layout, 4 tactical, 4 engineering, 2 science, and you get the extra engineering console at the fleet level. I don't know about that. I would have preferred a 3rd science console, so very similar to the Avenger in that regards. Base turn rate 10, pulse modifier 15, traction is 55. Yeah, this is basically an Avenger minus the versatility of the universals that the Avenger has. Doesn't the Avenger also have a intel, or is it command? The tier 6 variant.
I thought that one was command. I can't remember. I don't have was it the Arbiter?
It's the Arbiter that's the tier 6.
Arbiter's tier 6, and it does not have command.
Does anyone in the chat know? Arbiter has intel. Thank you, Jay. So yeah, so that's the difference. I think the Arbiter or the tier 6 Avenger will have an advantage over this ship because of intel. So really, I don't see these ships as better than some of the tier 6 ships that we've already have. The Arbiter would be better than the battlecruiser. The flagships are definitely better than the cruisers, than the Sagittarius. The only ship I'm really, half and half about would be the escort and the science ship. And even then, really, I don't see much over what we already have apart from the looks, and the looks are fantastic. Odin, we really gotta get the some of those artists onto the show so we can talk to them about some of this stuff.
We'll be working on it. We're compiling a series of questions, and I'll send off the email before the end of the week.
Okay. We want to talk about the consoles or the traits. Actually,
SOB,
you know what? Let's.
Are you going through the traits now?
Let's go through the traits here. So the temporal science vessel here has a trait improved polarized hull. This just buffs up polarized hull, so it will remove movement impairing debuffs as well as some dots and hazard effects. And so basically do the same thing as the hazard emitters. Then we go to the designated target trait off the escort, and that buffs up your focused assault if you use that, which I'm not sure is really worth it due to the cooldown that ability has. Unless this is a massive damage buff, it's just not going to be worth it.
Remember, it said moderate, and we remember what moderate was. So
yeah, bad. The shield overload off the temporal cruiser is somewhat interesting to me because it's a buff for emergency power to shields. It means that emergency power to shields won't be completely useless on a tank like it currently is. But we don't have the exact numbers available right now to see how much of a buff it'll be for your damage resistance and shield hardness. And then finally, the temporal battlecruiser's trait is retaliation. While this trait is slotted to you and you suffer a critical hit, you will gain a boost to your weapon damage and critical hit chance, and it has up to 3 stacks. So what's the issue with this? You
Sounds
have
like
to
something
have.
in the science tree there, where if you get a crit, oh yeah, you get to send a whole bunch of damage back. But what happens with NPCs and how often do they crit players again? Educate me,
They
please.
they have the base 2.5% crit chance, meaning that this trait is essentially worthless in PvE content. It's great for PvP, but in PvE, like when I look at my Hive runs, where I'm pulling 60-70% of the threat, in the entire run, that's, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, I may have a total of maybe 30, 40 crits on me. So this trait is just basically worthless for me on a tank build, which should be getting the most out of it. Meaning that for most people, it's just a complete waste.
And as a starship trait, this thing has to do massive damage per stack in order for it to be worthwhile, because of the low frequency of you being crit in any sort of PvE encounter.
Yeah, they haven't even qualified it. They didn't say it's like a moderate boost or whatever to your weapon damage. They just say it's a boost to your weapon damage and crit hit chance.
Watch it be energy
So
weapons only. Just saying.
probably because they can't figure out how to buff kinetic weapons.
Yeah, I'm just writing the bugs now, bugs in, and just slapping them somewhere. And if any of the bug hunters pick it up at this point, they do. If not, oh well. I'm just reporting it and tagging a dev, and then just shooting it off. Let them go with it. Um, I'm actually want to go back to the improved polarized hull trait on this one here, because think of the environment that we're going into right now, where we're going to have new players coming online or returning players coming in, and they want to, if they're interested, they want to buy this pack. They will get these ships. Granted, so far what we're seeing here, and Zeph, can you confirm that these so far are Fed only ships? Is this the case?
Yes.
So
They have actually
KDF and
confirmed
ROM
that.
are left out in the cold on this one.
Well, except for, well, and this is public knowledge, so it can be talked about. The last 3 ships that are on that laundry list of 12 ships, the last 3 T6 ships are cross faction. The other Federation looking ships are Federation only.
So a
So
majority of them are pretty much Fed only. So you roll Fed, or else you lose out on these traits and the ships. Thankfully,
they'll
I mean, this back to the main point I was making about the improved polarized hull trait. It's, you don't have to worry so much about slotting 2 or 3 different science abilities to be able to make sure you're good, or a tactical ability along with the science ability, in order to be able to get out of a hazard or get out of a hold. Just hit polarized hull, and now you got everything all at once. So they're kind of making it easy mode for players with this trait.
well, here's the issue that I have. Well, first of all, for the traits, they're probably gonna be dropping them on boxes for for the other factions, for the Klingons and Romulans to get. So I'm not gonna worry too much about that. But really, Klingons and Roms, you're not missing out on much here. Really, you're not missing out on much. Trust me on this one. And I just okay. Hold on a second. Improved polarized hull. Let me read this off. While this trait is slotted, activating a polarized hull will periodically remove movement impairing effects. Doesn't polarized hull do that already? As well as damage over time and hazard effects. So what is this adding? It's adding a hazard emitters to your polarized hull?
It looks like it's going to play the role of a half tac team, a hazard emitter, and a attack pattern omega.
Well, doesn't say which movement impairing effect. Just polarized hull will give you a defense against teleportation and
Tractor
the
beam.
different types of tractor beam and tractor beam repulsors, right?
Right, but not
Plus,
stuff like the clouds that slow you down. Not the necessarily the dot damage that would be removed by the hazard, but some cloud impairments that slow you down, or say enhanced by a molecular torpedo that hits you, that slows applied to you. Polarized hull doesn't deal with that.
right. Damage over time it removes a dot. Okay. And hazard effect. So yeah, it's kind of like a half and half there, but tactical team plus hazard emitters as well. So I don't know if it's worth a starship trade slot. I mean, we're only limited with 5, right?
Right. I see this targeted more towards new players until they figure out what to do.
You know what? I think it's about time we get a 6 starship trade slot.
What the hell? Not more power creep.
I have to agree here, and I just want to say about this entire pack. At first, I was really excited, but as each blog comes out, I'm slowly losing excitement because these just, to me, all of these are just not offering anything new, like that our current ships can't do better. I was gonna get the pack, but now I'm starting to debate on just getting that T4 escort with that M6 console.
Why the console?
It'll be equipable on any ship, from what I've heard and seen, and it just basically it's a firing cycle haste increase, damage buff, all that fancy stuff. So, be decent for more power creep.
Speaking about consoles, nothing spectacular here. Like, really, nothing spectacular at all in these consoles. One thing I noticed is they don't have a set bonus at all. So each console will only fit on its ship type class. That's it. So the console from the battlecruiser will only go on the battlecruiser, whether the normal or the fleet variant. And I don't know. I'm really not excited about any of the consoles. Except maybe the Time Rift Warhead, kind
No,
of the
no,
no,
I'm
okay.
already looking at this and I'm seeing a combo between the big red ball from the Tavaro and the Bioneural Warhead, only watered down.
Yeah.
I'm already
I was
reading the
kind
tea
of
leaves on this one.
I'm only kind of interested in that because of the directed energy weapon damage and crit severity. But I don't know, it's probably just like a 1% damage and 1% crit severity or something stupidly low like that.
I don't know. With the love for energy weapons lately, I say it's going to be about 25% Cat 1 and 10% crit severity. Calling it now.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I agree with Spencer. I mean, I might get a ship or two just for the look, maybe. I'm not sure if I want to spend the money or not. I might just save the money and pick off one of the 4 ships from the multi-faction ones.
So, speculation on the performance of these ships. I mean, for new players that are coming in, or for people who want to have something that they want to start out with, do you think these would be good, or should they focus on something else that already exists in the C store?
These ships are great for new players who don't have, some of the older things, some of the lockbox ships, low B. But it's Sporticus was saying already on Reddit a week or so back that some of this new specialization stuff with this is not going to do much for players that are like over 100k, and I can definitely see some of it with these consoles and this spec tree and the buff abilities from it. It's definitely targeted towards newer players.
Any other remarks on these ships here, the consoles or the traits before we move on? Aside from Zeph making them look pretty. Real pretty.
I'm looking forward to part 3.
Yes. Oh, we all are. Is there estimated time that part 3 will be released?
Part 3 will be released when the stats are released for them.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, sir, for letting us know that.
No problem.
All right, moving along.
So, in other words, soon,
yes,
trademark.
Soon.
Soon,
Right,
trademark.
I forgot that.
So,
I forgot that.
Yeah, so if I'm going with the trend, because last week the specs were released on either Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. I think it was Tuesday of last week. And then this week was Wednesday. So probably next. It might come out sooner. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. That's why I'm kind of working on it now. Just I have a feeling that I might get surprised and they might release the stats on the Friday or maybe earliest the Monday of next week. No. They could still release it Tuesday because the thing is coming out July 6th. So there's still 2 weeks until the expansion. Somebody had a question. Was that the First Contact soundtrack in that? Yes, it was. The music that I used was from First Contact, one of the scenes near the beginning of the movie.
Did find something else on Reddit here where we had one of the Redditors here, known as the Fallen Phoenix, in-game known as Atem. He has designed a mostly complete bonus weapon damage calculator. He's already apologized to the Kinetic community, and we've already forgiven him for not including Torps because, quoting Bordicus, Torps are hard. So we will put... It's true. We will put the link into this. And what he's doing is pretty much saying, okay, you drop a weapon in here, you drop your mods in there, you see exactly what it is. And this is the expected theoretical DPS you should get out of it. So it's something that's pretty damn nice. And I want folks to check it out and play around with it and see what it is. The link will be included in the show notes here.
Wait, hold on. Spencer, hold on. I got this, Spencer. Hold on. So you're saying that he didn't put torps in the weapon damage calculator. That makes sense because, torps damage, what?
Jesus.
I'd laugh.
Beautiful.
But when I put out the HSE video soon, and then you'll see the DPS numbers on that. Yeah, torps. Good stuff. It's necessary.
Yeah, they do miracles with like Photoshop and video editing and stuff like that. You can make anything look like anything.
This is true. This is very true. That's why fall looks so pretty. Speaking of which, though, there was an idea that was brought out by one gentleman over on the forums, politely known as Autumn Turning. And he's brought up several suggestions on what to do to actually improve the travel speed of rapid fire and torpedoes. And by extension, mines as well as with torpedoes. So, we'll also put the link in there. We've already tagged the devs. We'd like for more people to go in, take a look, leave your thoughts on there as well. Because this is something here that has been neglected for far too long. And actually does need more eyes on it to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, this game mechanic is ancient. Yeah, like how many revisions Plasma Explosions and Fall has went through. It's time that the torpedo flight speed be addressed properly. And no, adding hit points to destructible torpedoes does not solve the problem. We said it before it was introduced in this new skill tree. We're going to say it again after it's been introduced, especially when we see the actual paltry numbers that have been put out there. Adding hit points to destructible torps does not solve the problem of flight speed. There is nowhere in canon that any Romulan plasma torpedo traveled slower than a freaking snail can get to the damn target out in space. No, an EVA suit can move faster than that damn thing. Freaking Grim could move faster than that thing and shoot it down easily. That's silly. That shouldn't be the way it is in game. No, it does need to be changed. And he has some good ideas on how to change it that would actually be good for the game, because it'll drive more people to get different loadouts that'll involve some of these other torpedoes and upgrade them, which means they're spending resources, which means there's more revenue coming in the game. And with the actual quantifiable number of people joining the kinetic community, this cannot be ignored anymore. End rant.
Odin, am I part of your kinetic community yet?
Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, why didn't you remind me? Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce to you the newest member of the kinetic community. He's actually came to me for solid, no-joke advice on how to do good in a CCA with torps and then using it elsewhere. Captain SOB, the Chief of Cheesy Tactics. You know what? You're going to have to, get a new image there because you've golded a couple more torps than what's in there right now.
Only the enhanced biomal, and I learned that that's all you need in CCA. Like, the second attempt, and I almost had a 300k run in there with torps. It was amazing.
Yeah, but you know what? That gold-plated quantum also does very well in there as well, just to add more damage onto the entity itself. The enhanced biomolecular does that nice little 3-kilometer AoE damage that doesn't hurt you because, it's special torp. But the real punch to knock out the entity quickly comes from the other torps. Like, say, for example, the damage 3 pen quantum torpedo and a neutronic torpedo that actually hits really hard on that target. And if you can actually get it to impact, the Tricobalt and the TDD, two very bugged out torps, mind you, actually do a lot more entity damage itself. So those help take on the entity quickly.
I thought I'd let you know, too, I left them on auto fire.
Oh, now you're just bad. You're just horrible. That's just no skill, son. I'm going to have to teach you how to do it right.
I'm still waiting for my kinetic community membership card as well.
Oh, you didn't submit your torp boat build to me, man. Get one in. I'll get you your card. Now we're just waiting for sarcasm detector, and then, then the entire panel will be on.
That's funny.
It was, wasn't it? But you will be soon. I bet you. You will be soon. So, SOB, do you have anything to say on behalf of the kinetic community?
Torp should be just entirely removed from the game.
There you have it. Straight from the mouth of a kinetic community member. Torps should not exist in the game. You have it there. So it's settled.
Yes.
I feel dirty.
And you feel dirty? You've been enlightened, son.
After I do any CCA runs, I have to go and take another shower because I just feel dirty for using torps. It's so bad.
But you got good and got high numbers.
Spencer, I'm sending you some baby wipes. And talcum powder.
You need more than that. Anyway, there's some information that came out about predictive decay algorithm and some clarification as far as what it does and does not affect. And we've included that within the show notes as well. Long story short, we got clarification between Bordicus and Cryptic Rock As far as what it will do, and this, mind you, is the periodic damage. The dot amplifies dot damage. Here's what it does and does not affect. Any hazard will be affected. Now that includes Gravwell, Tychon's Rift. Now, and here's something for the kinetic community and all the people who love the gravimetric torpedo. It'll work with the rifts that proc from the gravimetric torpedo as well. And according to Vel, Jarvis, and Alfred, if you get enough part gens on that puppy, that gravimetric rift is going to do some damage. So that damage is going to be even higher now with this thing here amplifying the dot damage on it.
You said the magical word of the day, puppy.
Oh,
Gotta kick someone.
Who? Well, we kicked Mikey. There, we preemptively kicked him. Make sure it's not just puppies. But anyway, back to this here. The other thing is Omega Kinetic sharing is its own special case, so will not be affected by this. But if it's a hazard, yes. If it's an activated ability, yes. Most attached abilities will be in no unless it's a hazard. There. Pep Cloud will get it. The gravimetric torque rifts will get the dot damage increase. And Gravwells definitely. So there's going to be new toys within the science repertoire that are going to go around and start doing a little bit more damage. How much? Well, we'll let Proteus test it out and give us the raw numbers on there. So get to it, man. We'll appreciate it. We'll throw you something nice. And we want to do a special shout out to Melwy. I need to say his name right. Maelwy5. Melwy5 over on Reddit for relaying some of the information between the devs and myself, as well as getting Borderkiss and Cryptic Rock to answer. So we appreciate that. Other than that, anything big? Sorry, go on.
The Eternal, is that the Dreadnought, the new Dreadnought that they announced, or is it the So I'm just looking at what General Martok said in the chat. He plans to get the Eternal. Because they added a Dreadnought to their pack, did they not, recently?
I thought the Dreadnought was the... started with the CH. Oh, I can't remember now. Damn it.
In that regards, I'm with General Martok. I would only spend the $30 or $35, whatever it is. Oh, Eternal equals Dreadnought. Chronos Dread. I'm confused now.
That's the one. Chronos. CHR. Whatever. Stay tuned for part 3.
Yeah, if those factionless ships are good, then yes, it might be worth it. It might very well be worth it to spend $30 or $35, especially the tier 6 Vesta-ish one, because the Vesta was Vesta, and if they're making a tier 6 version of it, then yeah, I want one.
So I want to just go to the patch notes for the patch tomorrow that they just pushed out.
Go for it.
So this patch makes me both happy and sad at the same time. All lockbox weapons have been made to use the account bind on equip binding rule. Unfortunately, existing bound versions cannot be unbound, but future versions will reflect the change. Meaning that after the patch tomorrow, Coalition Disruptors, new ones, will be account-wide.
Yay!
Nice. But all those Coalition Disruptors that you currently have, they're all bound to character. Wow.
But don't remind me.
Especially all the ones that you have on the exchange. Probably worthless now.
Don't make me cry, Alan.
Well, I don't know about worthless. They'll be worth less than they are currently.
Nobody wants character-bound things. God.
Well, if they
Well, at
haven't
least they
been
got it fixed
equipped
now.
yet. No, if they haven't been equipped yet, would they still be bind to character, or
Don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
I don't think they'd be. If you could put them on the exchange, they're not bound to character.
Yes, existing bound versions cannot be unbound, but something that hasn't been bound yet is going to turn into a account bind on equip.
Yeah,
Makes
so that's
sense.
a good quality of life.
So cheer up a little bit, Spencer. I mean, it's been a good night. We made fun of torpedoes and stuff, so no need to be too sad.
Right, but he's also a member of the kinetic community, and he actually sought out legitimate advice on how to be good with torpedoes.
Why do you have to ruin a good moment, Odin?
It is a good moment right now.
I haven't opened enough lock boxes today, so I'm just a bit down.
Hey, you know what? I think somebody is going to donate us another 10 keys. So that's going to be 80 keys in my possession now. Would you like some keys? Will that make you feel better?
Well, I was really tired last night and wasn't exactly thinking well, and I went and bought like 200 keys, so yeah.
Wow. And there's some other fun tidbits in there. Couple things in there. And there's a little quote there. The thread that Bordicus will hate me on when I quote him. Just have a nice little laugh on that one there. The Reddit STO builds weekly ship discussions. We'll discuss the temporal ships. Go check it out. Leave your opinions on there if you're actually in there. Let me see. The exclusive first look at the new ships coming out with Agents of Yesterday. Is this Yusef?
Yeah, that's part 2.
Sweet. And part of the actual Vorgon build, the Cannon Oxtabat. You really did an Oxtabat one. You want to piss off Sarcasm Detector SOB, huh?
I just like to fly around him and hit Oxtabat.
That's awesome. So we're going to post his build on there, and we will also finalize the little rules that we have for the show ship build competition, where we give you the weapons that you will use, where you can get them, and then you pick the ship, the free ship of choice, and go get good with them. And then come back and let us know which one you picked, why, and then whatnot. You know what? You know what we need? SOB, you're going to build the spreadsheet for this. And then each one of us will pick the type of weapons or class of weapons that we want people to use. And then any other restrictions we'll put on it, we'll put on that sheet. And then they'll just pick whichever one, or you could do all 5 if you want. But you can only win 1 from one category. That's it. We can do the others for fun. And then you can just get good with it and see what you do. If a bonus to people who make videos on it and post it on their own YouTube channels, send us the link. And we'll showcase them on the show.
No nannies.
No nannies. Gotta be pug run. Gotta be good. And you also gotta do at least an ISA map. 2 maps that'll be recorded by SCM. So, if you can parse it within at least ISA and either HSE or CCA or DPS mark. Or if you want the DPS under fire as well, that's the tanking one, that's the survival one there. So any 2 out of those 4, with ISA, CCA, DPS mark, or DPS under fire. Heck, you know what? 5 HSC. If you really want to do good with HSC, go for it. HSC there. So there's 5 maps right there. I'm going to repeat them now. Last time I'll do this. ISA, CCA, HSC, DPS mark, or DPS under fire. Pick 2 out of those 5 maps, showcase what your build can do in those maps, and then submit it up for us to review. And each one of us, depending on which build you pick, will pick our first, second, and third choice out of it and go. How's that, gentlemen?
I'm still a couple of weeks away from getting the foregone. It's still a bit off. I think I'm like 500 or something things. I'm not sure. I don't know how many I have. So it's still a while off. But speaking of the foregone, someone actually posted pictures of the bridge. Thank you very much. Pleasant surprise. They actually did make a unique bridge for the ship this year. Yay. Very nice. They didn't advertise it either. So that's a little bit odd.
You know, what, can we have 10 minutes to talk about leak stuff?
What?
Leeches? Yeah, they introduced.
No, leaks.
They-
Leaks.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say they introduced leeches in Arc a few weeks ago, and
No,
they
I don't
interviewed
care.
diseases.
I don't care
Leaks.
about
I mean,
poopy
like
diver.
this is now a good time to talk about dietary supplements now
No,
and vegetables.
Damn it. The blog that STO put out with the JJ bridge and the new mission that's on Tribble with the pictures of the JJ Connie. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my
Somebody go
god.
get him a towel.
Oh my god. Dude, I am going to ship porn the shit out of that. Like, holy crap. I went and there's lots of screenshots out of that USS Yorktown from that Tribble mission. But and I did a couple myself. And in that mission you actually get to walk around on the bridge and holy shit. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
We need a sock. We need a sock in here.
A sock isn't big enough, dude. I need like the big plastic thing that holds the posters in it. Like, I cannot. I want to video it so bad.
All right. We get it.
But okay, anyway, great work on that ship from what I've seen so far. There's some things that I saw on Reddit where Thomas the cat actually said that he was given the dimensions from CBS for that ship to work with, and yeah, it's really really nice. I think I was in there with my Paradox yesterday, and it's maybe a little bit shorter than the Paradox. So I'm loving the new content that's coming out so far. It's
Wait. What?
I know.
What? Hold on, wait a second. First thing I gotta jump in here. We're talking about the JJ Connie, right?
See.
Okay. So
What?
that thing was supposed to be the size of the TOS Connie. Not the size of a Galaxy.
Right.
So they went with JJ's fluffed up version of it.
They went with the specs. In the movies it seemed like seemed bigger in the JJ movies than the T1 Connie in the TOS movies.
Yeah, but JJ was going for Star Destroyer type of sizes. I mean, freaking let's be real here. JJ was using Star Trek as a demo reel for all his Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I feel that they should have made the ship bigger.
No, I thought it was a good size personally, but yeah, no. Regardless, well done. If nobody has access to Tribble, the content that's coming downwind is looking pretty good so far. Actually makes sense, and yeah, I'm starting to get a little excited for this content that's coming out.
Are we going to see a vengeance?
I have not seen anything about a vengeance in Tribble.
Hold on. The other issue I have.
Somebody leaked a photo of a vengeance. but I haven't seen it in any of the missions that have been released. We still have 2 weeks for them to release stuff. So
Hold on. The question I want to ask here is they got this from CBS, and CBS okayed this, but it's Paramount that owns the right to this.
We'll talk with legal on that one, and we'll get proper legal on this one here in order to be able to deal with that type of situation. But we're not going to concern ourselves with that one, at least not right now.
yeah,
The movie's coming out in a couple of weeks, though, isn't it? It's coming out soon.
Yes.
The new movie in a month exactly. Actually, July 22nd, the movie comes out.
Okay. We get to see it's done basically. So yeah, we get to see. Oh yeah. So one of the things we forgot to mention was that the they will be. They are going to be adding the memorial plaque.
Come again, Cam. You're cutting out a little bit there.
Someone's going to have to talk about this for me. Memorial plaque.
Oh, for oh my God. Yeah, there was a memorial plaque. It's I don't know. I can't remember if it's on the release notes for tomorrow. Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, it is. So they updated the ESD memorial to add Anton Yelchin. Did I say that right? I'm never good with last names, actually. But
Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, that was sad to hear on Sunday. That actually really sucked. A little bit of a freak accident too.
Yeah, it's possible that it may be fault with the vehicle itself and not negligence on his part. So
Yeah,
that makes the loss all that much more tragic.
Yeah, Jeep Grand Cherokee. I guess there was a known issue. It's still up in the air, and I'm just talking about what I've heard on other various YouTube channels and stuff like that. But apparently, 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee, there was an issue where it was hard to tell if the car was actually put in park or not, and sometimes it wouldn't go into park when you thought it was in park and would stay in neutral. And unfortunately, this is what happened, and it sucked because he did a really, really good check off. Like the first time I saw him, I'm like, wow, did really good.
He captured the essence of a young officer, trying to get his bearings while also trying to be as competent and bold as possible. And he did a very good job of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we will definitely be missing him for all those who will love his acting. On a happier note, though, we do have Tim Russ, who actually turned 60 today, so that's good. He gets to live long and prosper a little bit more on this planet. And is there any other closing remarks that we have here, aside from SOB loving Torps now?
No, I've got nothing personally.
Well, we'll put this thing out on the show notes. Everybody will be able to look and see what's going on. Our competition will start as soon as this thing is released. And check it out, everybody. We will see you in game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the company. Enjoy the people. Remember to be good to everybody out there, even when you're running the pug life. Stay true to each other, my friends. We'll see you out there. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.